Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Wherever you are in the world today, I hope that you are doing great. I hope that all is pleasant for you, especially those who will subscribe to my channel, those who continuously watch my videos, and those who continuously follow what I do on this channel. I hope that you and your loved ones are doing great. I hope that all is pleasant for you. And most importantly, my friends, I hope that you and your loved ones are in good health. Once again, welcome to the Common Sense channel. On this channel, my friends, we get to talk about those things that people know, that people have thought about, but don't often have the time to discuss. These, my friends, are the things we discuss here on the Common Sense channel. So once again, welcome to the Common Sense channel. Before I begin this talk or this video, I want to shout out to all the veterans of this country, especially those who give their lives, which is, my friends, the ultimate price that anyone can give for their country, for their community, for their neighborhoods, and most importantly, for those they love and cherish. So shout out to all of them. The past ones, the ones in previous years, the ones that fell today, and those who are hanging on thread. I want to also shout out to all those ones that are survival of previous wars and are living among us, doing great many things. I also want to shout out to their families too for standing by them. Those who are going through treatment in facilities across this country, I want to send a special shout out to you. Those who are struggling from any disorder, I want to send a shout out to you. And those who are out here making this country, this world, a better place, I want to shout out to you. And those who are currently serving this country and the people of humanity, I want to shout out to you a special Memorial Day to you and your loved ones. I hope that peace, I hope that joy, I hope that tranquility, I hope for you all the best things in life. That the Almighty, the ancestors before you, the one that fought, bled, and died before you, to grant you the consolation you need to go on in life, in the journey of life. So having said that, our topic for today is focus on good and evil. Today's video, I'm going to be looking at it from two angles, maybe three angles. It depends on where the ancestor leads me into this video. But let's say two angles. The first angle we're going to look at is from a religious standpoint. And then we're going to organize religion now from an organized religion standpoint. And then we're going to look at good and evil from the common sense perspective. We're going to look at, because in my view, I think honestly that most things are based on common sense. Not all of them, but most of them are based on common sense. And if you can use your common sense properly, you start to understand the world around you and why things are happening. So let's look at good and evil from organized religious standpoint. When you talk of good and evil, the genesis of good and evil can be traced back to the Garden of Eden. And we're going to talk about that. when you look at the Garden of Eden, when I look at the Garden of Eden, I don't look at a tree. I don't look at a physical garden. The whole story in and of itself is an illusion to me. Is someone talking about your family, my family, your home and my home. That's how I see it. And by the time I'm done explaining this, you would understand how the Genesis is a symbolism of the home that you, my friends, are originated from. The homes that you are originated from is your Genesis. Your parents are the God in that Genesis, which is the home that you are from. Let no one tell you anything. And the character in the Garden of Eden are the character that you birth into this world, like the God in the Bible birth those characters, Adam and Eve. Each of us have male and female in our homes. Some just have males. As was the beginning of the story of Genesis. There was a male, and then came the female. Both women, if they don't have a male, they'll have a female. So it's vice versa. So if you're looking at it from a religious standpoint, you wouldn't get the story, because the main intention of that entire story is to deceive you. Those who wrote the book, not those who reading it, not those who are interpreting it. Most people wait for interpretation because the book is meant for interpretation. Proof, they call it reproof. You understand? You can look at it, but we are only looking at the book from the common sense perspective. So let's delve into this. So the Genesis story, as they want us to believe, it's not what it is in there. It doesn't mean that Adam and Eve were blank slate. It doesn't mean that, like they want us to believe now, they didn't know nothing. They were innocent, completely innocent. They were not innocent. They were not innocent at all. They, my friends, were like us. They had all the knowledge that were given to them. They had the knowledge. The only thing that they didn't have was the knowledge that would allow them to do the things that we are struggling with today. We have knowledge, but we don't have the fountain of knowledge that we need to exalt ourselves to the level of development or to the level of our own potential. And that's what Adam and Eve, especially Adam and Eve, I would say that, they didn't have. And the only thing that were standing in their way of getting that ultimate knowledge was the tree. The tree is a symbolism of someone, those who are in authority, standing in your way of you getting that, I want to say self-actualization. That's the last level a person can get in the Maslow hierarchy of needs. But that's where the issue was with Adam and Eve. They didn't have that knowledge to actually self-actualize. You understand? Their potential. And that's the same thing we go through today. The information that we need to get to that level are being held from us by those who don't want us to know them. It's the same thing. Sometimes when I look at the whole thing, I'm saying, why can't people see it? That this is all symbolism. That whole story is all symbolism. If you read the whole story, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. If all human beings came from the individuals that were represented in that book or in the story, then where did Black people come from? There's no way you can explain that a white person cannot produce a Black person. It's impossible. And it's true, like, you can't do that. So the whole story doesn't make sense. Human beings were on this planet before that story. And that's the truth. And if you read the Genesis story, you will start to understand that there are two creation that occurs in the story itself. The first one was not specific at all. That's the deception right there. The first creation was a deception. The second one, they tried to a little bit polish it a little bit so they can fool you. The people that reads the Bible are they all they need to do is open their eyes and see. The ones that the ones that interpret the book are the ones that are deceiving the ones who read it. You know? So both of them are being deceived. You understand? So let's talk about good and evil. Good and evil in the Genesis story was the main theme of the whole situation between the God speaking in the Bible, which I think is a man sending command to his children, telling his children, don't do this. And I know, even in our own homes, with our own children, I'm of the opinion that if you're going to be honest with your children, be honest with them. I grew up that way, where my mother was not really open about things that I wanted to know. But my grandmother was the opposite, because my grandmother would tell you consequences to things that you are contemplating on. Human beings always fantasize on things that would be good and evil. You understand? So it's always good to tell your children the consequences of their action. Don't wait till they're older. There's no time for that. Tell them the consequences of things so that they know whenever they do something that there are consequences. That, my friend, was the mistake of the human being, the superhuman being that was speaking in that book, in the Genesis story, telling his children in their home, not in the lab or in the so-called garden that has not ever been founded or discovered anywhere on the planet. So we're not trying to make them. By the way, I don't really care, because the goal is to let the people know that whole thing was a fantasy. It was a lie. It doesn't exist. Doesn't make sense. They're talking about your home, and that's it. You know, there's no way around that. And the lie is what we're trying to debunk. That's what I do here. You know, not against any religion, but I am against organized religion. You understand? I don't shy away from it. I say it. Organized religion is man's greatest enemy. And they know themselves. They are shadowy. They are hiding. They come out and they go back in the cocoon. They hide out. So they want to tell us about good and evil. So let's look at good and evil. Evil is not a demon. It's not an evil spirit. It's not a boogeyman. It's not Lucifer. It's not Satan. Evil, my friend, is ordinary people trying to justify their behavior and their action, or maybe how they see the world in the current time. You understand? In their moment of time, they're trying to explain and justify their action towards things that they do and how they see the world and those around them. That will be everything. That is what evil is. Good is the opposite of you trying to do what is right, what you think is right. Because you have to be specific when you say what is right. Because what is right to you may not be right to another person. I keep pounding on this because I know a lot of people don't understand this thing is cultural. You understand? Okay, let's talk about what is right or what is evil. Because some people, I think they want to make this thing universal, and it's not working. What is right? What is right? What is good? What is good? What is good? What is right? as a universal theme, which is not. Take, for example, the Nazis. They eliminated, extinguished, I want to say extinguished, millions of European Jews. You know why? Because they were ethnically cleansing in their mind, in the sick mind. They were thinking that they were cleansing. They were solving a problem. So to them, that would have been something good for their society to solve the problem that they were dealing with. To you, in other culture, you'd be like, that's wrong, that's evil. But to them, that's good. The Mongols, they killed their enemies just to glorify, to feel glorified, and to feel that they were doing great things for their culture and their clans. Imagine that. So they did it with impunity, and they did it with the justification that they were glorifying themselves. Someone in other parts of the world would view that as evil. Talk about the primitive people in other places like New Guinea, Papua New Guinea, or in other remote part of the world where civilization, I don't want to even say civilization because civilization is in the eyes of the beholder. So let's say places where people still eat human beings, they're cannibalists. To them, that's a cultural thing. It's been passed down to them from one generation to another. So they don't see no harm. They don't see no evil in that. You see? But to other people, these individuals are not civilized. Maybe they're getting some medication from eating human beings. You don't know. Or maybe it's something ritual. You don't know. You see? So when you talk about what's right, as far as good and evil is concerned, you have to think that people do things for a certain reason. For example, slavery. Someone must have written in the book, because we were talking about a time when the world has discovered that religion, organized religion, was the way into a civilized world. So whatever was written in that book was the gospel, whether it was through Islam or Christianity or any other form of religion. I've read so many books on religion. I mean, all of them. These two culprits have always shown up, Islam and Christianity. They've always been the key factor. And if you look at them, honestly speaking, Islam is the offshoot of Christianity. And it's written in the Quran. I think Surah something, I forgot in the first, I think Year of the Cow or something, where the Prophet, peace be upon him, is speaking to his disciples. The Quran does not specifically say which one. It's telling him, go to the people of the book. That's how Islam called the Christians. People of the book. You can read the Surah, you see. Go to the people of the book and investigate. Investigate what? So if you look at the part, most of the Quran, the Quran is explicit when it talk about Jesus, talk about the mother of Jesus. How would they know that? The Quran is different because it has set of rules and guidelines on how you can treat people, especially relationship, children, family. That's the difference. Christianity is vague. It doesn't say much, except when the Apostle Paul, which is another doctrine of organized religion, comes and start to lay down some of these rules. You understand? It was Paul that laid down most of the rules. Jesus didn't lay down no rules. In fact, Jesus was more about segregating the people that he chose as the ones that he came to redeem from the rest of the people. There are scriptures in the Bible where Jesus is talking to his disciples. He's telling them, do not intermingle with the Gentiles and the Samaritans. He's telling them plain blank. And even the Apostle Paul was also a segregationist too. You understand? These are all people, they came to their own people. But the only thing that Paul did, he did something that Jesus never wanted him to do, which is to move away from the command that Jesus had told his disciples not to do, which is to go in the way of the Gentile and the Samaritan. That's what Paul did, because Paul was doing his own thing, that we know. So some people today might see that as wrong. Telling people to segregate, that's bad. Some people might see slavery today as evil. But in those days, in their days, or maybe in the 20th century, we don't want to say, not in the 20th century, but we can say that in the 18th and 19th century, slavery was okay. Why? Because there was a religious text that says it was okay. Abraham, the one they like to say, the father of all nations, crap. Never said, there's nothing in it that says he didn't have slaves. And I don't even think he only had one wife. Because if he was that rich, with all the cattle and all these things, Abraham, my friends, needed at least 5 wives to birth as many kids to take care of all those things. Now, if he didn't have children, as was the time, as was the custom of those days, to have as many children to be able to farm the land, cultivate the land, grow crops, and take care of the animals. What did he have then? Slaves. So you see, if you view the religious text, organized religion text, as the gospel, as morality, some people see as moral, as words from God, speaking from wherever he is and telling, I don't say he. I don't think God is a he. I think the Almighty is a spirit. And only those who don't read the scripture right don't know that. But if you read keenly, you ask for guidance, you open your eyes. The scripture is straightforward. There are elements in there that are kind of like confusing a little bit, especially when you start to go into the teachings of Paul and Paul's gospel. You see some confusion in there because the man was mad and crazy. When you look at Jesus, me personally, honestly speaking, I don't subscribe to anything Paul. I only read the teachings of Jesus. Some people call him Jesus. His name is AKA Jesus the Christ. But I call him Yeshua HaMashiach. I subscribe to his 4 books. There are reasons why I took them out. Because they are focused on good, doing good. Doing good to those who maybe even if they don't deserve it, but just be good to them. That's the kind of world he was trying to preach to his people. Because he knew the nature of his people. So he's trying to bring them up from where they were into a world where they're not evil, where they're not doing bad. But again, Jesus, they understand that evil and good, they're cultural things. That the way he was seeing it, it's not how they were seeing it. You understand? So it's the same thing today in our world. When we think of evil, that's why you see all that thing America is doing with democracy. It's not going to work. Because say, for example, you can take democracy, nice concept, sound great, into a culture where they believe that women are not supposed to go to school. They believe that men are superior than women. They believe that women are supposed to stay home and cook and clean and take care of things, domesticate. They don't believe that women have equal rights. So you take democracy to that culture, my friends. Honestly speaking, do you think your democracy is going to change the mindset of that culture? What if it doesn't? What happened next was Afghanistan. You understand? Because people will not trade their beliefs, their cultural beliefs, for a religious or so-called European civilization doctrine or, philosophy for their cultural belief. They're not going to do that. So this is the reason why religion spread, because religion had to either adapt. Let me tell you, religion is not stronger. What is stronger is culture. And culture wins all the time. Religion has to capitulate organized religion, because those people are really religious anyway. They're religious in their culture, and they're basing whatever actions they're doing based on their religious belief. That's how they run their society. Now, when you add religion to culture, then it becomes worse. And that's what you see. So democracy, you may think is good. Some of you sitting in your house, just give them democracy. It's like giving someone religion. And they're saying, no, I don't want it. You see? So yeah, good and evil can be traced back in the Garden of Eden. You understand? And I often say that whole story, the good person in the whole story, if you read it, if you believe in the story, the good person in the story, the one that was trying to teach Eve, because they always want to blame the women now. I think Adam was on it too. This is what I think, because we're talking about the people that wrote that story. These were misogynists. These were people that don't believe women have rights. These were people that saw women as a subject. So they wrote that stuff. We're talking about a society where women didn't have no voice. These individuals wrote that story, right? Let's be honest. They wrote that story. So what do you think? Who do you think they're going to blame? The entire Crucible, written by Arthur Miller. The Crucible. Who did they blame in that story? It was Abigail. That's who they blamed, the African lady. They always blame, even for the witches, the trial of the witches, even in Europe during the crusade, not during the crusade, during the Inquisition, most of the victims were women for witches and stuff like that. The same thing from the Garden of Eden, good and evil. People looking at, oh, witches are evil. Did you know that most of the inventions were started by witches? Did you know that? Until they discovered that these people had gifts. They were gifted with power beyond the understanding of humanity. And they were just exhibiting them, displaying them. There are people in our world with powers given to them by their ancestors. And they display it sometimes. They show it. You understand? People will kill these people because they were ignorant, because the same story in the Garden of Eden. So in order for them to find a scapegoat, they blame Eve, I'm sorry. And they say, oh, she's the one that ate the apple. The apple represents knowledge, if you don't know. Understanding of those things that were hidden from you. And in our world today, there are a lot of things we don't know about ourselves. There are a lot of things we don't know about ourselves. And it doesn't mean that the information is not out there. But there are people that stumbled upon that information and they're hidden from you. Imagine if each of us had the ability and the access to this information. Just think about how our world would be like. To know who you are, to know your ability, your potential of being great. And if it's not hidden from you, it's the same thing that happened to Adam and Eve. Now the good person came in, the enlightened one, the one that wanted to take them out of their situation into a better place, to show them that you have been stuck in your predicament, not by your design. It's by you not knowing your enemies who's trying to destroy you. Your enemy is this entity that is portraying to be good, to be godlike, that does not represent the Almighty, that does not represent Yeshua HaMashiach and his teachings, which they hijack. You understand? The good one is who is teaching, who is trying to enlighten Adam and Eve. It's the same thing in our world today. When someone see you in your situation and say, let me speak to this person, because I know they need this information to get from one level to another. That's the only way you're going to progress in this world. We all need each other to enlighten each other, one another, so that way we can get from one level to another. We are God to each other. No one is coming from nowhere to take you from the level you're in to another level. You, my friend, will need someone that looks like you, that lives in your community, that lives in your society, that lives in the country that you live in, to take you from wherever you are to the next step. Today we call it networking. You understand? But that's what you need, and that's what the Satan, the devil, I call him the good one, was trying to do to Adam and Eve. Even though that God said that they would die, they did die. What death symbolizes in that whole story is that you are being died. You're being dead to the falsehood. You're dying to the lies. And now you're being rebirthed to the truth of who you are. And if you look at the whole story, since they didn't know who they are or who they were at that time, with that knowledge that was given to them, they became aware of who they are. I'm personally saying now that they were already knowledgeable. They just need the kicking on the ice on the kick to get from the level that they were at to the level of potential. That's all they needed. So in my view, I won't say with all clarity and definitively would say that Satan was not evil. Satan was good. And Satan, my friend, can be anyone in our society today that are trying hard to educate the masses of people who are being misled, who are being misguided, that are put in the fictitious Garden of Eden, that are put in a lab, or that are members of the matrix and are trying hard, even risking their time, their life, their energy or energies to free them from the darkness of organized religion. Organized religion, my friend, that's why on my channel I focus on organized religion and government. These two, they are both working together. They are both working in concert. They never go against each other. Look at our society today. Look at what's happening in our world today. Do you think if organized religion really care about the purpose for which they stand, as they want you to believe, do you think they won't be trying to make the world a better place by telling the people the truth? Instead, they're running around here with this fictitious character called Satan or Lucifer or demons. If they have to create it, they'll create it. These people spend money creating movies on their lives. Imagine that. They try to retell Jesus' story thousands of times. And the man actually didn't live like that. You understand? They would fake it. And then when Mel Gibson came out with the truth, they got really mad. Why would you be upset if your intention is to teach people the way? As Jesus says, I am the light, the truth, and the light. He said, no man cometh to consciousness, to awareness, without coming through me, because I have the fountain of consciousness I have the fountain of knowledge and wisdom, which has been bestowed upon me by my Father who is in heaven. The wisdom, the self awareness, the self enlightenment of who you are. Say, you don't need that building, my friends, because the Father that is me, that is part of me, that I subscribe to, lays in you as he is in me. I say it in me. So you don't need to go looking over there. All you can do, my friends, is look within. And that's what these organized religious people need to be teaching. Tell the people the truth. Because guess what? Maybe not this generation organized religion. Maybe 2-3 generations down the line. Every generation is going to wise up. Just hope technology. I know they're trying, but they can't mess with technology. Because technology is coming from a place that they think is evil. But guess what? Isn't it ironic that the same people that think technology is evil and the molding world is evil, these are the same people that want these things. They have so much greed for material things that they can resist these things. And we see them every day being busted for the same thing that they are telling their congregants not to indulge in, not to grab, not to take. And like sheep being arranged to be slaughtered mentally, they are going in droves to their demise. But when the good ones show up, when the evil ones show up, as they want to say, because I think they are the opposite of what they preach. Not saying that there are not good ones out here. I know a couple of them that are out on social media. In fact, they are not in regular churches. They are at the street corner. They are in places that you wouldn't even know. And they are preaching the real teachings of the man I call Yeshua HaMashiach, aka Jesus the Christ. There are many Jesuses out here. I say again, Yeshua HaMashiach, preaching the teachings that they organized religion hijack. So when you think of good and evil, do not think of good and evil as how organized religion wants you to think of good and evil. Why is that? Because good and evil is in the eyes of the beholder. What you think is evil in other people's eyes or in other people's mind or in other people's culture, that stuff is good. It's helping solve a problem that they want to solve. You understand? And history has proven this over and over. There are entities in our world that have professed themselves to be good entities, and they would do anything, no matter how much it costs, to commit evil just to maintain their brand. Whether if it's a church or mosque, whether it's a temple or a synagogue, whatever it is, they would do whatever it takes to maintain the facade, even if it means engaging in evil. As I told you, evil is not demon. Evil is ordinary people. Don't matter where they are from, their culture, their race, their ethnicity, their background, their religious belief, whatever they want to call themselves. It's just ordinary people finding a way to justify their action in real time. That's it. They're looking at the current situation and say, hey, We got to do something, or else we're going to be exposed, or else we're not going to be in business, or else our name, our family, our background is going to be tarnished, and we don't want that to happen. Or maybe my secret is going to come out that I'm a pedophile, or I'm a child abuser, or I'm a child molester, or I'm a demon, I'm an evil person, or I'm not who I say I am. You understand? So these are all ways that people express themselves and express themselves through evil. And now good is the opposite of that. Good does not hide. Good does not cover up. Good does not even need to speak. It's all actionary. You understand? So if you look at these things, you try to understand them, the genesis of all these things can be traced back in organized religious textbook. You know, I don't think God wants any of us. I don't say God, but for the sake of this video, I don't think the Almighty cares about organizing anything that has to do with him. You know, I don't. Or him. I say him because that's what ordinary people know. So let's say him. But those who are enlightened, those who are wise, those who are connected with their ancestors en route to the Almighty, they know that the Almighty is not a man. It's not a entity. It's not a sheep. It's not a goat. It's not a cow. It's an it, and it's a spirit. And as the scripture says, in order for you to worship that spirit, you must do it in truth. In a world where there's no truth, there is no God, if that's what you want to say. And God does not dwell in lies. God, the Almighty, dwells in light. And the light that the Almighty dwells in, all human race that want to subscribe to that light must also dwells in light. Meaning that all of the lies, greed, hatred, envy, these are all elements of the darkness. I don't want to say darkness because it could be something. It could mean something else. But anything that's hidden from you, as was the story in the Garden of Eden, it was the truth that was hidden. And the truth, the opposite of the truth, are lies or lies. You understand? So lies is the thing that has all of these elements: envy, greed, corruption, malice. These are all elements of lies. Because the truth cannot comprehend these elements. The truth must always fight to expose the elements that are the combinations of lies. So whatever you see, my friends, as evil could be good to some people, to some race of people, to some culture of people. So the best you can do is to make up your mind and do, my friends, the right thing. Just do the right thing. Do the right thing. Because if you can do the right thing and not pay attention to what the definition of what people want you to be, because there are people out here that they're the ones that wrote the definition and the world don't question them. But sometimes I say you question those very definitions because the definition does not match with their actions. So if someone is going to define something, their action should match with it. You know, but if they're going to define something, the action don't match with it, with whatever they define, then you start to question them. And there's nothing wrong with questioning things, because the first level of consciousness that any human being can have is when you question things. We do that all the time in our own lives. If you don't question things, you can't have an answer. There's question and answer. You understand? So that's the first level you can begin from in order for you to start to understand yourself and the world around you and those you cherish. You understand? So yeah, good and evil is in the eyes of the beholder. I just wanted to do this video to just talk about this. This is what I do here. I don't be doing, like, if I really wanted to like do videos like everyone doing, I can do that too. But I want to talk about things that people don't want to talk about. Yeah, and I know there are people on my channel that watch my videos. They know my ammo. They know what I talk about. They know. Some people come on my channel because they know what I talk about. And I'm not going to stray around. I'm not going to stop talking about it because that's what I want to talk about. So if you're on my channel, you know these are the things I talk about because I've searched the whole world. I've read books. My house is like a library. And those books that I've read, right, they're just a bunch of ideas from dead people fantasies, their realism, their thoughts, their ideologies that has no relevancy to my life. That's what I discovered after reading all those books. I mean, thousands of books. Yeah. That I'm at the point where I don't really need to read them no more. I don't see no relevancy in them because some of them are not really appealing to my life now. It's whatever you read, whether religious text, it must have some relevancy in your life now. I mean now. If it's not having any relevancy in your life, just like you take a book you're reading and the book is not interesting, what do? You drop it somewhere. Now, if you take a book that's interesting, that means it has some relevancy in your life. So you continue to read it. And then that the author is so smart. If the author is smart, they'll show you other references. And then you can jump from there to another a sequel or a series and read. And the more you read, the more you discover the plot as you go along. That's what these books, these religious texts, if they're not relevant to your life, stop reading them. Sit, pause, think, ask question, and you get answer. Ask relevant question, not stupid question. Relevant question. And you find answer. It takes some time, but you will. You're seeking. That's what Jesus said you should seek. Yeshua Mashiach. The religious people say you should seek the kingdom. The kingdom is in you. You don't need to look for it nowhere. It's in you, my friends. Religious people say seek the kingdom. Jesus said the kingdom is in you. So they want you to go look for it in the church, in the mosques, in places that you have no business of going to, but yourself. So you're running away from yourself when the solution is you. See what I'm saying? So yeah, good and evil is in the eyes of the beholder. I'm going to leave it at that. So as I've always said on my channel, the greatest thing, my friends, that could ever happen to you, it's not the day you were born. Not the day you had your first car, the day you graduated from high school, the day you had your first child, the day you became a lawyer, doctor, engineer, whatever it is that you're doing out here in our world. The greatest thing that could ever happen to you, my friends, is the day you discover yourself. Because from that moment on, everything, my friends, will start to make sense to you, including the false narrative of good and evil. Because no matter how much people teach you about good and evil, it is part of you, my friends. It is part of society. No one, absolutely no one, no entities, I can say that this definitively, can eradicate evil and good because it is embedded in the nature of human beings. So once again, I want to thank all those people that watch my videos, all of those that subscribe to my channel, all those that continue to watch what I put out here. This is me. This is how I think. This is how I see my world and the world around me. The people that I even interact with. So I want to say and hope that you and your family are doing great, and most importantly, are in good health. Have a blessed and pleasant day. Thank you.